And I don't think people realize too, that mindset, fully loving yourself, affects everything that you do. It affects your job, it affects your output, it affects your relationship with your coworkers, it reflects into your personal life, like every aspect of your life, like sees the effects from that.
Office hours, the Evanless edition. So today, office hours, it's just Brieonna and I, Josh, of course, the brand director, Brieonna, the social media director. Evan's currently, I think, in Colorado, surrounded by some trees.
I thought it was in Arizona.
Arizona, surrounded by some trees.
Palm trees.
So, enjoying the weather over there. Although it's been pretty nice here, it's just been a little less sunny.
Yeah, not as nice.
So, what's been going on in your world, HiredUp?
Man, just getting after social.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Anything interesting?
Huge push for app content right now.
Right.
We just launched our ads, which are targeted for app downloads.
That's right.
So really just kind of making sure our organic social is on par with our ads.
Yeah, I think that's important for, Evan has said this before. It's like we're all in HiredUp world all the time. So everything we put out makes complete sense to us.
Right.
But for someone who doesn't know about us or is just stumbling upon our social media platforms, they'll find a ton of podcasts going on. They'll find a ton of funny reels. And they're like, what the heck is this? I'm intrigued, but I don't know what it is. So
right.
I think you've started to make an effort as far as just, making sure we're fully optimized.
Right. Well, and I think too, a lot of that we will kind of hone down to once we really hone in our target market.
Yeah.
And I think ads will help with that a lot. Because, right now it's, who needs a job? We have something to offer.
Who needs a job, really?
Who needs a job?
Yeah.
We gotcha.
You got your stimmies in the mail.
Exactly.
Just YOLO it on some Robin Hood stonks, and you'll be all set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I do kind of miss those days where I was just sitting in front of my computer in my pajamas, just trading.
Oh my gosh, living the life.
Yeah, pajama trader.
So apparently, and I'm sure you've maybe heard this, they're thinking about moving the NASDAQ to Austin. Have you heard this?
Oh my gosh.
I know, isn't that crazy?
What is can you explain to me? Listen, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
If everyone in the entire world wants to take over Austin, I'm going to be sitting over here in Dallas just sipping my tea, right? But I don't understand all this movement towards Austin because, there is just not room. It wasn't built for this metropolis.
Yeah.
Even 10 years ago, it was already kind of, it's getting a little... See, I was thinking about moving to Austin right after college, too. And I was a completely different person. But, it just came down to... There's just something about Dallas. It's just... There's much more space here. And... Austin proper, Austin downtown, not my cup of tea.
Yeah.
Now, outside Austin, it can be pretty nice. There's definitely lots of nature out there as well, which I enjoy, but man.
Well, whenever I lived in Austin, I loved it. But the Austin that I lived in, even just 4 or 5 years ago, is nothing.
And you lived in Austin proper?
Today. I lived in
downtown?
Yeah, Austin proper. I lived in downtown, and then I also lived in North Austin, in Lake Travis area.
Oh, okay.
So I've experienced both, and it's so pretty. Lots of things to do outside with nature, which I loved, but it's nothing like that today.
Yeah. Camps.
Yes.
The camps. Oh no.
I was just watching a thing on social media, a video about it too, of just the progression of it, and it is wild.
Interesting how that happens when things happen. But yeah, the NASDAQ moving to Austin, I can't see that happening just because, I mean, the NASDAQ, there's a reason why New York City, you know, it's supposed to be one of the hubs of the world. Now, I guess they're trying to turn Austin into one of those hubs, but I mean, it just boggles my mind, the amount of, and I understand for why all businesses want to move to Texas.
Right.
You know? But, you know, you can't, if you change things, you know, it's just going to turn into not the place that you want. So.
Well, and my thing too is, you know, people say they want to move to Texas because of our laws and regulations or what have you. And they say that they would, you know, their beliefs are on par with that.
Yeah.
But people's beliefs are ingrained in their subconscious.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of work to consciously, you know, undo those beliefs.
Oh, you're telling me.
So, I don't think every corporation or person, you know, looking to move here to Texas is, you know, going to unconsciously change their beliefs on what they think regulation should be.
Yeah. I'm not as worried about businesses because they like saving money.
Right.
You know, so they want to be business friendly. That's why they moved there. But it's more like the sheer influx of people from all across the country and the world. But again, I mean, and not to say that Dallas is not rapidly growing. It is. I've known that just from looking at houses recently. But I mean, Austin's on another level.
Yeah, another level.
I mean, it's unaffordable already.
Yeah. What's going on in your world of brand design?
Yeah, so there's a lot.
Yeah,
there's a lot. I'm kind of like been dipping my toes into all these different waters.
Yeah.
So we are doing some changes to the app as far as the user interface, making it look better, a lot just more user friendly, easier to understand. So I was brought in, you know, after the original app was set forth, and we were just focused on just getting the app out and just getting everything working. Mm-hmm. And now that we're at that point where everything's working and the app is out, now we can go in and start redesigning these screens little by little. And that's a project that I love. I love this stuff.
That's awesome.
So I get really really into I get really into it, you know, my headphones on and kind of like a programmer, and I'm just obsessed with just the spacing, and I'm just like overthinking everything, but I love it because it really does have a direct effect on the people that are going to be using the app,
right? And
then because of that, the business. And you know, you could have the greatest app idea in the world, but if people don't know how to use it or they don't like using it, you're going to be broke. So.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. So doing that, and then of course, just helping you and getting more social stuff out and creating content, creating that app content,
content,
podcasts. Yeah.
So much.
Yeah, it's a lot, but
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah. I mean, I remember thinking before I started working here, I remember thinking I would love if I could work at a place where, since I am kind of a jack of all trades as far as the things that I have experience doing.
Mm-hmm. And enjoy doing.
Yeah. Not everything, but but I do have a lot of experience in different areas. But to be able to work at a place where I can really exercise those things and hone those things, and it's just, I'm telling you, man, the thoughts, the mind stuff is not. It's not just all woo woo, you know. So focusing on what you want, focusing on the feeling of what you want. is very powerful, and it allows you to see opportunities that might come your way. So
exactly. I was kind of talking about this, I think with you and Evan the other day too, but HiredUp, if you take like HiredUp in my past job, it is polar opposites,
right.
Like polar opposites. And I have never been anywhere where like risk taking was so allowed and so like valued and made a priority. My last job is, these are the type of posts that we're going to make, and we're not going to deviate from this. And if we do deviate from it, there's a lot of people who need like a say in it.
Right.
So, it was kind of an adjustment at first, but it's so refreshing to have that environment where you can fail, you can mess up, you can make a post and it not do well, and that's okay,
Absolutely.
It makes a world of a difference.
Yeah. And like we've said before, you've done a fantastic job in coming in and sort of in a microcosm, breaking down your past reality and sort of rebuilding your beliefs and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
So
it was a rebuild of beliefs for sure.
Yeah. But I'm glad you brought up risk taking, because that's something that I kind of wanted to talk about today.
Great, let's get into it.
Yeah. So, we've done a few of these podcasts by now, and we've interviewed some amazing entrepreneurs, startup CEOs,
some really cool people.
With really interesting backgrounds and stories. But I will say, for especially the younger people who are very successful, I've noticed a trend where they all tended to have grown up in environments with their parents, and their parents were very risk tolerant people. Their parents were risk takers. They were surrounded by risk taking very early on in their lives, and it allowed them, especially when you're young, that's when most of your beliefs are formed, right. And those are the hardest ones sometimes to change. But all of them had parents that were, maybe they're entrepreneurs, maybe they're whatever. And so that makes a lot of sense to me as to why they were so able to quickly be able to just start jumping in and taking risks and starting businesses and doing these things that many of us who may not have grown up in those environments would be harder for us, or more challenging for us, to start those journeys. So
true.
Right?
So true. What would you say your upbringing was like? Like, were your parents, because your dad has a restaurant and there's some risk that goes involved into branching out. And
oh, for sure. It's interesting you asked that, because basically I mainly grew up with my mom. So I got to visit my dad growing up for the entire summer, every summer.
Yeah.
And, we just spent a lot of time together, and we have a really good relationship. But my mom and my dad, for the vast majority of my life, were not together. So my mom decided, or the arrangement was that I'm living with my mom basically during the school year, and I go see my dad during the summer. So I was, for the majority of time, around my mom. And, my mom was very young when she had me. She was 22, so you can just put yourself in those shoes as a 22-year-old. As soon as you have a kid, it's like, okay, this is
my life.
My life. I'm not really in a position to take risks. Yeah. I have a child to worry about, So I grew up mainly with her, and it was pretty standard as far as that goes. She was just working paycheck to paycheck, long hours, doing everything that she could to provide me with a great upbringing.
Right.
But because of that, there wasn't a lot of risk taking with her. It was very, I need the safety because I have all this stuff going on. I'm young, all these things.
Right.
So that's what I grew up around. And I grew up around the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle and kind of being stressed about money. And, but on the flip side, my dad, his whole life was risky.
Yeah.
I mean, he came here from Bangladesh, one of the poorest countries in the world, after getting using the lottery system. So he was able to just come. He had to do the transfers didn't happen with high school, so he basically had to go to college and take high school courses and then start college. But I mean, that in of it's just coming here was a risk.
Yeah, exactly. A huge risk. You know, leaving everything that you know behind.
Leaving your entire family behind. Yeah. So, and then he ended up, graduating college, getting his, degree in business, and he was always working bartending and everything. So that's what he continued to do and worked up the ranks and, was working for Fridays, which back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember this, but Fridays was actually a big thing.
I loved Fridays.
Be the spot.
The cup of dirt was my jam whenever I was little.
Yeah, that's right.
With the worms coming out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, I loved that. I mean, I hung out with him a lot. But anyways, so long story short, not to bore everyone with the whole life story, but yeah, so he ended up opening his own restaurant, and just the restaurant industry in of itself is a risk.
Oh, 100%.
So, and being able to do that, and he's someone who always, he'll work 6-7 days. He doesn't care. He just wants to provide for his family and everything. So he instilled that work ethic in me. But again, when I was younger, I wasn't around the actual risk-taking stuff. I was mostly, I came to see him and we did a bunch of fun stuff and everything. So yeah, I wasn't really big on that. However, I always had that within me. I always wanted to take risks. I always wanted to do different things than everyone else was doing. But I didn't quite know how, and I didn't really have the support around me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I get that.
So what about you?
So kind of similar. I pretty much grew up with my mom. My sister and I would go to my dad's on the weekend, and then we'd spend a few weeks in the summer with my dad. My dad grew up in the Depression era, so he's very much save every penny you have. He's whenever I went to college, I was walking, both ways. I had no air conditioning, the whole spiel. And then my mom, she basically was a single mom. So I would say if there was anyone in my life who is a risk taker, it's probably my mom. But at the same time, she was the sole provider for her family.
Right.
So, having a steady paycheck that came in was very important to her. And, that got passed down to my sister and I.
Sure.
If you don't get a college and get a job, you won't be successful.
Right.
That kind of lingo. But yeah, I wouldn't say that she's put all your money on the cards and go do whatever makes you happy.
Right.
Because, she was also a young mom too. She was 24 when she had me.
Yeah.
So didn't really have that ability to do so.
Right. Yeah. And so I always subconsciously wanted to take risks. I wanted to try new things and everything. But like I said, I didn't exactly know how to do that in a smart way. So for instance, going to the college that I went to was a huge risk,
Yeah.
Because frankly, I didn't have the money to go there.
Yeah.
And we can talk about good risk and bad risk. It's a combination of both.
Right.
And by the way, I just recently consolidated my student loans, which I highly recommend for everyone, especially if you have private loans.
Yeah.
If you have federal loans, maybe hold off a little bit just to see what happens. But Private loans, those are like just the worst things. They're the worst things. I mean, you can't even get rid of them with bankruptcy or anything, just like you can with like any other form of debt.
They're with you for life.
Right. Oh, till you're like, if you were to die,
it gets passed on.
It gets passed on. Yeah, it's that type of thing. It's pretty ridiculous. But anyways, saving a lot of money on interest and everything. And again, these are things about money, about risk taking. I didn't learn in school. I didn't learn anything about credit. I didn't learn all of these really important things. Building money, supplemental income, passive income, all these things that would have been very helpful to me if I was much younger, which a lot of these
to start some of those opportunities when you're younger.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I'm not jealous, but it's just kind of funny seeing these younger kids who are growing up with Instagram.
Right.
And there's just such a wealth of knowledge, no pun intended. Of just amazing tips if you just take the 5 minutes to look for it.
Right. Something else I think of too whenever it comes to risk is fear, because fear is so rooted in risk taking. Luckily, I mean, my mom wasn't like a super huge risk taker, but one thing that she always instilled in my sister and I is like the number one thing that holds people back is fear. So like, you may be scared, but just do it anyway. And I think that happens so much when you're taking a risk, whatever it may be, personal, career, of just that fear of, if I do this, what would happen? And we've kind of talked about it on the podcast before too, but I think people just get so paralyzed by fear, myself included.
Sure.
It's something that I feel like I'm always working to like overcome, because I never want to be the person that regrets not doing something because I was too afraid of doing it.
Yeah.
But it's a hard hurdle to jump sometimes.
Sure. And and I think that fear of risk really is something that is, again, goes back to childhood.
Yeah.
And it's like we view risk in a fearful way because, like, as a child, that correlated with
don't fall, like you're gonna scrape your knee, just almost instilling that fear. If you take a risk, not if you scrape your knee, you're gonna be okay.
Right. But it's not like that with, like, when our parents let us do sports, for instance. It's like, yeah, you might get hurt or whatever, but you're gonna keep going. You're gonna keep doing it. So I don't know why that didn't translate into everything else. We have like a fear of like disappointment or a fear of failure or whatever, but
or
it's
judgment.
really
Yeah.
right. But success always has failure that's 2 steps behind it.
Right.
You can't get anywhere unless you fail.
Right.
Unless you're comfortable with failing. And that's another thing, is being uncomfortable is part of it.
Yeah, definitely. So I think a lot of people, from your parents, or even if you're in a situation now, like sometimes you just need that third party validation to be like, it's okay to fail. Like, it's okay if this does
it's
not
cool
pan out.
to fail.
Right, exactly.
All the cool kids are failing.
Yeah. And I'm actually seeing a lot of like Gary Vee type people on social media who's, speak that same sentiment. Like, failing is a part of the process. So it's really good to see that kind of narrative is being shared a lot.
It's like a mindset shift. Failing is awesome.
Right.
Do it again.
Right. Keep
Do
going.
it again. Fall on your face. We love it.
Right.
We respect that.
Right.
Because that means you're doing something.
Right.
That means you're moving towards something. And, we don't get anywhere in life by being comfortable.
Right.
We just don't. We have to get out of our comfort zone. That's where any change, any growth happens is out of your comfort zone.
Right.
And of course, I like to symbolically connect this to like cold showers. Yeah. That's something you immediately do that gets you out of your comfort zone, and it makes you super alert and awake, and
That's so true.
But and it also, just doing that you can do this other ways, obviously, but doing something like that where it's uncomfortable on a regular basis gets you to associate with uncomfortability, if that's a word, being uncomfortable on like a routine on a daily basis. So it becomes natural. So you don't fear it.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yeah, I'm going to be uncomfortable and it's going to be fine. And I'm going to do it like I always do. Yeah, exactly.
So kind of on that note, I wanted to ask you this because Taylor was working with you and I today on interview questions. And I think one of the questions that he may have asked both of us is, how do you portray confidence? Is something along the lines of that. And then that kind of got me thinking, how do you portray confidence, or how do you feel confident, or how do you show that you're confident when you don't feel it, or maybe that you're someone at, a really low point right now and you don't feel confident in anything that you're doing. Like what should you do to like start helping yourself with that?
He didn't ask me that question.
Okay.
He asked me about what do you do if you're nervous or something.
Okay.
But that's a good question. Nobody is confident all the time.
Right.
Nobody. Not Gary Vee, not Tony Robbins or whoever, Oprah.
Even Tony Robbins said that he gets a little nervous before his...
of course he does. That's why if you've ever seen his documentary, he has this whole routine of getting him out of that state. Yeah. People laugh when I say, literally start singing and dancing, like, oh, I can't sing, I can't. It doesn't matter. But if you do that, it will get you out of the funk immediately and get you ready to go. That's
a good piece of advice.
Yeah. I'm telling you, start dancing.
Even if it's before like a job interview, like I'm someone who gets, worked up before a job interview for no reason. I shouldn't. Yeah. But just start singing and dancing, like in your car. Like get your mind out of that. I'm not confident. I'm nervous. Just that negative headspace. Yeah.
Well, if you think I'm not confident, I'm not nervous, or I'm nervous, you're gonna be that because you're powerful. Right. Your thoughts are really powerful. But yeah, just getting yourself out of your mind and into your body, literally by doing those things, helps immensely. Doing those things. There's other sort of things that are kind of like that, where you do like a state change thing. Dr. Joe Dispenza kind of talks about that. Okay. If you ever get in a funk, it's basically like change, and it's this like improv thing, and that you can kind of start psyching yourself out.
So it's you say change,
and you're like change, or you can you don't have to say change. You can say something that's just funny to you or amusing to you, but that's like your change word.
Okay.
Where when you catch yourself going into a negative thing or a downward spiral, you use that word. Someone I know had I forgot what the phrase was, but he would say some phrase that was from like Jersey Shore or something.
Oh my God.
Because he thought Jersey Shore was so hilarious. So I don't know which character it was or anything, but that would be his phrase. Whenever he'd get into a funk, he would say this line that would immediately crack him up and just get completely out of it.
I love that. It's almost kind of like bringing yourself out of a hypnosis. Like
totally.
Like stop.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And the other thing for being confident is not put things, to release importance of things. I think is huge.
Agree more with this.
Yeah. The more importance that you place on something, or the more that you put something on a pedestal, I mean, the more that you're separating yourself from it.
Right.
This goes with people, if you're dating or something. This goes for anything, a job,
right?
Anything like that. Once you place importance on it, you kind of just move it out of your trajectory, immediate view. Yeah.
Well, and I think of dating too, because, I have some friends who are dating. I think of one of my friends in particular, and she attaches herself so much to the outcome of how's this date going to go? Is he going to like me? Kind of that whole thing. And it's almost like just detach yourself a little bit, remove yourself from that. Like, they have to like me. What if they don't like me? And just show up as your confident self, and that will exude. And, if it works out, great. It was meant to be. And if not, it wasn't meant to be.
Another thing is, since you brought that up, and this kind of gets to a deeper kind of the root of it all, is practicing self-love.
Yeah.
If you truly unconditionally love yourself and all of your flaws and your mistakes and the things you've done in the past, and you truly feel yourself and you're like, this is who I am and I love who I am, no one can shake you.
Right.
You will always be confident, because the outcome, or if people don't like you, or for what, it's like, it's okay, because I'm not placing my worthiness onto something or someone or some event.
Right.
I'm already completely worthy. I'm already my number one fan.
Right. It's kind of like I'm living my best life, and if you want to join my journey, you're more than welcome to. If you can't, that's okay too.
Exactly. And you don't have to, be some millionaire, model or whatever to be living your best life. You don't have to be like just truly loving who you are in this moment on your personal journey that you're on is massive. And that's just something that I can personally attest to, because I used to have these issues.
Right.
And for me, I remember it came to a point where I was so good at self-loathing and self-hatred, and I would always say the worst things to myself in my mind about me, be so hard on myself. And even if people were like, oh my gosh, you're amazing, I'm like, no, I suck.
Yeah.
I suck. Don't you see?
Stop telling me nice things.
Yeah, exactly. It's messed up. It's messed up. But a lot of people deal with this, and I was one of them. And I remember there was one day where I remember looking at myself in the mirror, and I don't usually take pictures of myself that much,
Yeah.
But I remember looking at myself in the mirror and taking a photo of myself, and I'm like, today's the day this stops.
Yeah.
Because
this bus is turning around.
Yeah, I still have the photo. And I was just so tired of giving energy to that, and I wanted to start giving energy to full love and acceptance of myself, so that I can start growing and progressing and stuff. Because if we're not progressing from that mindset, it's kind of hollow.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize too, that mindset, or even the opposite mindset of fully loving yourself, affects everything that you do. It affects your job, it affects your output, it affects your relationship with your coworkers, it reflects into your personal life. Like, every aspect of your life, like, sees the effects from that.
Listen, everybody has is dealing with some sort of mental health thing. We all are. Yeah. So it's time to just be open and honest about it, and I still deal with some stuff, but I've also overcome a lot of stuff as well. And so I'm always happy to talk about it and to share and to normalize it.
Exactly.
Because we all have our our funky days.
Yeah.
You know, I think I had one on Monday actually, where I was just I was just feeling really off, and I'm sure everyone else felt it.
Oh man.
I was a little, everything was agitating me for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, we all have those days.
But, you know, being open about it, it's like, yeah, I was dealing with something. I recognized it. Recognizing it is super important.
It's the first step.
Right.
Really.
And not just hide it away
Right.
in the closet, because it can get pretty tight in there, and then all of a sudden it explodes. So
right.
It's important to realize that we are all on our own separate journeys, and to not compare with other people. You know,
so true.
When I brought up initially listening or interviewing people on the podcast who are, you know, in their early 20s and they have their own company and everything, that's great. I want to learn from them.
Right.
So what? I'm older than them. I have completely different life experiences than them, but I see the value that they bring, and it's not about comparing, oh, well, when I was 24, I wasn't doing that. Like,
right.
Yeah, I was doing other things that contributed to who I am now.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like growing up being an athlete in college too, and now, you know, being a former athlete, that is so common too, because you think this kid is 16, they're 22, and they're already making it to pros. You know, what's wrong with me? Why can't I do that? Or why don't I want to aspire to that level? But I mean, you said it so perfectly. Everyone's on their own path. You can't compare yourself. I think I even shared something yesterday about this too. So funny that we're even talking about it now. But I'm such a huge proponent of this, because I mean, you can just put yourself in the worst mental state if you're constantly looking at someone else, and then in turn making yourself unhappy with your own life. You know, you have to appreciate the journey that you're on.
Exactly. Yeah. And I actually have my time where I literally do an appreciation for the hardships.
Oh, that reminds me. I have Gratitude Wednesday.
Oh, there you go.
On my, so for everyone who's listening, on my Instagram, on my stories, every Wednesday I do a post where it's Gratitude Wednesday, and I put a little box up there, and you can post what you're most grateful for throughout the week. Gratitude is just something that's helped me, like on my personal journey, and something that I want to get better at. And relating back to what we're talking to, it just helps you put your journey in perspective, not compare yours to anyone else, and really just kind of grounds you. And I forgot that's today, so I need to post that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, gratitude is huge, and it's so powerful. But sometimes we only look at the stuff that makes us happy.
Right.
And I think it's just as powerful to look at the hard stuff and look at the mistakes we've made in the past, and to look at
such a good
challenges.
Point. Such a good point.
Because if it wasn't for those things, those are our opportunities to grow, right?
Right.
We're not going to grow if we don't face any challenges.
Right.
So I'll have my time where I literally think about the challenging stuff that I've dealt with, and I'm like, oh, it's so wonderful. Right. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to level up.
Exactly. And I'm also too a firm believer in not really regretting anything, even though something was really painful or heartbreaking, or I really messed something up, and I would never want to go through that again. But at the same time, it's like I'm on the other side because of it. You know, I've grown because of it. I mean, I think of all the times, you know, I was, you know, a little craphead in high school, and I got in trouble with my mom. But, you know, each of those experiences just help you level up.
Of course. And I tend to gravitate towards people who have been through challenging stuff.
Yeah.
I find their conversations, their insight to be a lot more fascinating than maybe someone who hasn't really faced that many challenges.
Right. And I've, talking about mental health and, everything, or everyone has their own things that they can work on. Mine is I have a hard time feeling negative emotions. I just want to suppress it. So it's really good that you brought up when you're practicing gratitude or kind of just taking inventory of everything, of appreciating the hardships too. For me, not just suppressing it and never, revisiting the emotion ever again, but like out loud acknowledging, I'm happy this happened. This got me to where I am now, or this is my path because of those hard pain points.
Totally. And, thank you for being open and honest with that. I mean, that's big. And I think it's something that a lot of us deal with, in one way or another. And, for me, well, I think for everybody, suppressing it's still there. You know what I mean? It just doesn't go away.
Exactly.
So that's the thing to kind of remember. So if it's still there and you're just suppressing it, it's going to end up coming out in other unexpected ways. So I think, I know for me, I had all these suppressed emotions. And when I took that picture and I was so done, and when I did have suppressed emotions, I was the Grouch. I was Scrooge, the Grinch, whatever stereotype, I was that person.
Yeah.
And it would come out in passive aggressiveness, and I would have a short temper, and I would just be agitated all the time. Or I would always bring up negative things when someone is stating positive things, that was who I was. And so the first step for me was like the full self-love. I'm brushing over this. This is a whole process, right? I'm not trying to say it's easy. It's simple, but it's not always easy.
Right.
But the self-love and self-acceptance was the first step for me, and accepting all the mistakes and all the things that are not perfect about myself. And then from there, I started doing things like exercising, and I talk about this, and I'm like, seriously, your emotions are physical. They're stored in your body. And so by doing things like exercising, you're actually moving your body, or dancing, for instance, or yoga, or whatever it is, running, moving your body, you're actually starting to move those emotions out, I know how many times if people come home from work, maybe, I just feel crappy, or I feel tired, or whatever, and then they force themselves to go to the gym, and afterwards you're like, I just feel so much better. I feel lighter. I say
it all the time. People never regret after they go to the gym, because you feel good.
Right. So that's just a real thing. So, getting those emotions moving, the energy in motion, as I like to call it. So I think that also is something that really helps.
Yeah. So to change pace here a little bit, so you've been doing Club 515, which we talked about a couple of times here on the podcast. How's that been going for you?
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's the easiest thing in the world.
I know.
It's simple, not easy. Right. But no, it's... so it's been about a week. It's been about a week now. Club 515 is Evan's club community that he started for early risers to just have a community space to check in and to interact with everybody. I think he's going to start making it more interactive, but as of right now, it's just kind of a check-in thing.
Right.
Now, for the most part, I was getting up close to that time, maybe 5:30 or 6 o'clock most weekdays.
Right.
But the hard part is the weekends.
Yeah.
You know,
very hard.
Yeah, exactly. You know, you're doing stuff on Fridays or Saturdays. How's that gonna work? And I'll be honest, it may not always work because I was telling Evan before, it's like I love waking up early and I love all the benefits that come along with that. But my number one priority is making sure I'm fully rested.
Right.
And so if I'm up for whatever reason, you know, late night, I'm not gonna hit that 5:15 goal.
Force yourself into.
Yeah, I'm gonna prioritize my sleep because I know how powerful sleep really is and how beneficial it is. And I've been in situations where I just didn't sleep for a long time, or I consistently got less than what I personally need. And that has an effect on even just like one night of not getting enough sleep will have effects on you for, you know, several days.
Yeah.
So the hard part was the first weekend and I did it. I didn't have much going on Friday or Saturday. So that was easier. But yeah, I will say it was a lot more beneficial than I thought it would be.
That's awesome.
Because, you know, on the weekends I at least have all these errands that I usually like to get done and usually don't end up getting much of them done until cramming it all in on Sunday night or whatever.
Right.
And this opportunity allowed me to get stuff done that I needed to get done, those errands, those to-do lists, very early on.
Yeah.
Very early on, to the point where I had so much weekend left that I could really focus on things that I might have otherwise pushed off. Like, you know, I think I ordered like 8 books, I think, from Amazon last week.
Yeah.
I'm trying to build up my library. Shane and I's library.
Yeah.
So really just taking that time to just lounge around and read those books and go out, you know, to the park or something and not have those things leering over me in my head of where you need to meal prep and go to the grocery store or whatever you need is.
So what does a typical morning look like for you being a part of Club 515?
Typical morning?
Yeah.
Weekday or weekend?
Let's say weekday.
Weekday?
Yeah.
So 5:15. Well, I wake up at like 5.
Yeah.
That's just 5:15. It's just kind of a weird time. It's like I'm either gonna wake up at 5 or 5:30. I'm not a 15 minute.
Okay.
So I can text the group at 5:15.
There you
know,
go.
if I wake up at 5:15, I can't. I'm still kind of out of it.
Yeah.
So,
Hello, everyone.
Right. But I mean, first off, I have my alarm clock away from my bed, so I have to turn it off. I have to.
Smart.
Yeah. If you have your phone in your bed, it's just a boop.
Yeah.
And you go, I know, because I do that all the time.
I have like 5 alarms in the morning to help.
Oh, geez.
I know. I think Evan would roll over dead right now if he heard that.
Well, I don't know. It sounds like he has some crazy sounding alarms.
Yeah.
The last time we talked about that.
True.
So I don't know how. I wake up to the sound of birds. Okay.
Oh, so pleasant. So pleasant.
Well, and it's something that I've had ingrained in me, you know, so it may not work initially. You may not hear it, but
you will.
It's like I know the sound of that bird alarm clock and it just triggers me to wake up.
Yeah.
So I get up, I wake up, I drink a bottle of water. I meditate for about 15 minutes.
I like that.
Especially in the morning, your mind's clear and it's just super, super easy, honestly. And then I go to the kitchen. I do my electric water, my electric water.
Okay. Which is what?
So that's, I'll get a 8-ounce glass of water and I'll put some lemon juice in it.
Okay.
And sea salt.
Okay.
Himalayan sea salt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then some apple cider vinegar.
Okay.
And that really wakes up your body, wakes up your organs. And that's what I like to drink before I drink coffee.
Okay.
So
I like that.
So yeah, I'll drink that. And then I usually on my gym days, I go to the gym. I'm usually at the gym by, I don't know, 6:30. So get my coffee, get my kombucha, get my whatever drinks. I usually have like 5 drinks I'm taking with me. I'm a full weirdo. But, I usually pack everything the night before because I take a shower at the gym and everything. Okay. So I have my I wear my gym clothes, I have my work clothes and everything like that. So do you go from the gym to work after? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, usually. Sometimes I'll stop. It depends on what time. Sometimes Shayna usually works from home most days. So sometimes I'll stop over there for like a little bit to hang out. Okay.
I like that.
But, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But I enjoy at the gym, I tend to do heavy strength training, but I start off with yoga and stretching. And that's something I kind of wanted to talk about on my social media because honestly, 99% of people I see go to the gym, they don't stretch. Yeah. Or if they do stretch, like it's like swinging, it's like flailing their arms around. Okay, I'm done. And I'm like, before I even started doing the heavy lifting, I wanted to become more flexible. Yeah. One of the red flags for me that got me to the gym on a routine was I couldn't touch my toes. And I'm like, there's no reason I should not be able to touch my toes. But I was living a sedentary lifestyle. So, and I wasn't working out at all. So, waking up from bed, getting in the car, sitting at work, going back in the car, sitting at the dinner table, it was just constant sitting. Right. And my back hurt, my lower back. People tend to have back problems and neck problems and everything like that. So that's something that I really started working on with stretching and with yoga and everything. Yeah. And so I would much more any day rather be flexible than super bulky looking, Agreed.
I would say 9 times out of 10 I stretch, but sometimes I don't prioritize it as much as I need to. And in soccer too, it was always like the first 30 minutes of practice was always stretching. Yeah. Because we would pull muscles all the time in practice. So it's like it was such an importance. But it's something I've gotten more lax on, which I want to get better.
And again, it's another thing where enjoy the journey. Like I said, I couldn't touch my toes initially, but the more you just prioritize stretching and routine and yoga and stuff, you get better at it. Right. And I've become way more flexible than I ever thought I could be. And I'm still not where some other people are. No, I can, I'm still working on like I forgot the names of all the asanas, but where your legs are apart, not fully split, but your legs are apart and you lay your torso,
down towards the ground.
Right. Yeah. But I can do like I can sit and forward fold and hang on to my feet and stuff like that. It just, man, I'm telling you, my back used to be so jacked from just no movement, and having all this back pain and sitting all the time. And my posture was terrible.
That's what I'm bad at, even now.
Yeah, I catch myself more, but for the most part, like when I'm walking, I'm taller now because I worked on my back. My stretching. And we can, there's other, I don't know, I forgot the right word, but you look more confident when you're when you're more of like your chest
straight.
out
Right.
and everything like that than if you're scrunched over.
Oh, absolutely.
All the time. And you're, people are more open to starting conversations with you and stuff because it's like a subconscious thing.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I do my yoga, and then I do my strength training, and then I do the sauna.
Nice.
Yeah. So I kind of get all these things that's my morning routine, is really mostly at the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My gym has a sauna, but I just never really have time for it. Yeah. So that's maybe one of the, I think that was my big issue with Club 515 is like, I don't know necessarily what I would do with all my time.
Yeah.
I feel like I would just fall back asleep.
Yeah.
But I like how it could be something as simple as that. But really just taking your time through things.
Yeah.
Instead of just like, wake up, rush to the gym, come back, shower, go to work, Yeah,
I just can't, like, I think it's so beneficial to not always be on the go and in a rush all the time. And because I'm saying this from experience. I'm not saying this because, holier than thou or something. It's like I was constantly waking up 15, 20 minutes before I had to be somewhere. And you're still basically coming out of your dream state and you're already stressed out. Mm-hmm. And that just has such an effect on you the rest of your day. And then you don't take time to fill up your cup, and then you're giving throughout your day. And, just stuff like Evan says is very, very true.
Yeah, I agree.
So.
Cool.
Yeah. But anyways, just to wrap this up, risk taking, fear is all you.
Yeah.
It's the wall that I shouldn't say you, because I deal with it too, put up for ourselves, and so sometimes we can get to a point where we realize, oh wait, I built this wall, I can take this down. Exactly. It's so simple.
I even got a tattoo that says "No fear" to help remind me every day.
Well, there you go.
You can walk through life without, crippling fear stopping you from doing things.
And whether it's confidence or it's nervousness or anything like that, practicing having your self-care, self-love practices, I can't say enough about how that can literally change every aspect of your life, and the way you move through it. So
cool.
Yeah. Well, this was a great conversation.
Yeah, I know.
I enjoyed it. Hopefully we had some insights that might help people in some small way. So
yeah, you never know.
Yeah. So, you can listen to this on Spotify, on Apple Music, and also watch it on YouTube. We appreciate any feedback and any sort of engagements and comments and stuff, just to let us know.
Absolutely.
If we're on the right track and we're actually providing value, or how we can be better.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very cool.
All right. Thanks for listening to the Higher Up podcast, and we will see you guys next week.